Hi, everyone. Welcome to Monday Positivity. Our today's guest is Jessica, with a remarkable background in health education and a master's in public health from West Chester University. Jessica brings a wealth of expertise to the table. As the founder of Journey to Yourself, she not only wears the hat of a stress management health educator, but also shines as a captivating speaker. And you will be witnessing that in this episode. And stick till the end as she shares some golden nuggets. In this episode. And in our communication, in our conversation today, we'll be delving into the world of stress management and self discovery, exploring how she, um, we will be discussing like how Jessica's journey has led her to this meaningful work. Through her career and education, she's come to recognize a shared challenge that unites us all navigating stress. Drawing from her own life experiences, she has crafted Journey to Yourself, a transformative approach that offers insights into managing stress and cultivating self love. So, without further ado, let's welcome Jessica to our podcast as we uncover the connections between stress reduction, self love, and personal growth. And again, wait till the end and listen to her advice that can change your relationships remarkably. Okay, so to start off, I'd love our listeners and viewers to get to know you better. Could you share a bit about your background and the path that ultimately, brought you to the realm of stress management and the creation of Journey to Yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I started my career in the drug and alcohol field. So I was working at a rehab for a couple of years. I was helping men reduce their sentence from jail and they were coming into the rehab. I wanted to be on the prevention side of things. So I went back to school and got my master's in public health and started my business.
Okay, wow. That's amazing, and I would actually love to more about that. But let's first talk about stress because stress is an omnipresent challenge for many individuals nowadays. Can you take us back to the moment when you realized that self love held a powerful connection with stress reduction?
Yeah, of course. This is a great question. So when I realized that self-love took a place when it came to stress is when I realized that it took place in accountability. I think a lot of times when we think about stress, we think about, oh, my significant other does this to me, my coworker does this to me, my mom does this to me. And my mindset was, we have more control in our life. So what does that look like? And once I started to dive down into accountability, I'm going, oh, we really need to start setting boundaries for ourselves. What does that look like? And that's kind of where that, you know, rabbit hole of searching came through.
Right. And the concept of boundaries, it comes a lot in, my podcasts. Like everybody's talking about boundaries. And I think, yeah, that's something we all need to learn. And now let's dive deeper into Journey to Yourself. So could you give us an overview of what this concept entails? And more importantly, how does it intertwine with both self-love and stress management?
Yeah, of course. So, kind of going back to your last question about how self love even came apart, when I was trying to think of a name, I don't know if you did this, but I did this. I like had every word that I wanted to represent my business on a notepad. I'm going, okay, how can I put all of this together? And it was one of those walk away, come back moments, and Journey to Yourself came to mind. And so that's kind of where it came from. And why I like it so much is because it's always going to be a thing. Stress isn't going anywhere, and that's not my purpose. My purpose is to teach you a different perspective on stress so it doesn't take over your life.
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's a good way to, start working with, stress. And moving into actionable strategies, I'm sure our listeners and viewers would be eager to, hear about some of the techniques you impart. Could you highlight a few key practices from your program that individuals can, use to foster self-love and reduce stress?
Yeah, of course. So my mindset is when I usually start with my clients or in my workshops, it's very much of, well, what do you want? What makes you happy? And we don't really know that answer. We can have ideas like, oh, I love chocolate and I would love to work out more and things like that. But what really makes you happy is my question. What actually makes you laugh? What makes you, feel good about yourself? And so my mindset is, how do you get that? And so I try to teach people how to start to make time for themselves. So 1 to 5 minutes a day, what does that look like for you? It could be journaling, it could be reading, it could be sitting outside, which is a cup of coffee, but just 1 to 5 minutes to start to take time for you, which then sets those boundaries. But when we start to make time for ourselves, we start to really learn what we want and what we need in life.
Right. I think that's one of the challenges that everybody faces, like making time for yourself. We are always eager to, make time for our work, for our, relationships. But when it comes to, making time for yourself, that's where everybody struggles. And based on your experiences, like what have been some misconceptions or barriers that people often encounter when trying to, embrace self-love and making time for themselves?
I think the biggest one is that we tend to look through it for other people. So yeah, it's self-love, but we want the validation from our husbands. We want the validation from our friends. And a lot of times it's, oh, I want my friends to give this to me so I feel loved. I want my fiance to give this to me so I feel loved. But my question is, if you want the flowers, if you want the date night, if you want the sushi time, if you want to go to that trip, why are you not doing it for yourself? Why are you waiting for that other person?
Right. While you're waiting for, someone else to give you permission and then do that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And personal stories often, resonate deeply with our audience. Could you share any heartwarming success stories of individuals who have experienced stress reduction by embracing, self-love practices?
Yeah, of course. So the one I like to tell when people ask this question is the Sunday scaries. And so, it's Sunday night, you're up all night thinking about tomorrow, I have to go to work. And that can be super overwhelming. And so one of the success stories that I have is my client called me on a Monday morning and we usually met on Wednesday night. So, I'm like, oh, are you okay? What do you need? And she just said she wanted to say thank you because we've been practicing certain techniques that worked for her and she finally got to sleep through a Sunday scary night without pouring the glass of wine, without going through the social media, and just actually sitting with herself and talking to herself and saying, these are the things that I need to help me get through this. And it was really cool because I think the coolest part about that, obviously going through the Sunday scaries and successful, but it was her being proud of herself because a lot of times when we accomplish things, we don't take that moment to say, I'm proud of myself and I did this.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And also when we talk about self-love, many people, they think of self-love more of as a like selfishness, right? Um, so help our, listeners and viewers understand like what self-love truly means and how it is different from narcissism or selfishness.
That's a good one because I think that we get caught up in that. Oh, I'm being selfish. I should be wanting to hang out with my family. I should be wanting to hang out with my friends. I never get to see them. But my mindset when I think about this is you're recharging yourself. So we have, batteries in our phone, we have batteries in our laptop, we have to fill our gas tank. We have to do all those things because what happens when we don't fill them up? They start to act really slow. We end up throwing them across the room because they're annoying. They're not working the way we want to work. And so kind of taking that mindset with me when if I'm not taking care of myself, how present and focused am I going to be in with my friend? So we've all been there. We sat at dinner with them and my mind is racing about something else, or I'm super tired and I can't focus. And it's like, you're kind of showing up half butt right there, right? You're not even doing your full you. So do you want to do that? Is that how you want to show up? Or do you want to show up fully present? So when we take that time for ourselves, we're recharging our battery so we can go and have those laughs with the people we love.
Right. Yeah. And I loved your, analogy of batteries. Yeah, I love that. And could you also offer some specific mindfulness or self-care practices that, individuals can incorporate as they begin their self-love journey?
I love this. So mindfulness, I want to hit on just for a little bit, just because I think sometimes it's misunderstood. So a lot of times when we think about mindfulness, we think meditation, which meditation is amazing. It's a form of mindfulness. It's not all of mindfulness. And I say that because I think sometimes people are scared of meditation. They don't want to sit with their thoughts, which is fine. You don't have to do that right away. And then I think the other piece when we think about mindfulness, we think present and aware, and those are all great things. But a lot of the times, what we forget about with mindfulness is the no judgment piece. So, for example, if I'm making time for myself to sit and just drink the coffee while it's hot, right? It's just 2 minutes. I'm just going to have my cup of coffee and enjoy it. Am I judging myself of, you shouldn't be doing this? Am I thinking about everything I've done in the past? The shoulda, coulda, was. right? Or am I doing, oh, in the future, I'll do this. I should be doing this. So it's the no judgment piece when we're taking the time for ourselves.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very important. Yeah, and yeah, we have all been, guilty of doing that.
For
Right.
sure.
Yeah. And let's talk about professional lives as well, because stress often creeps into our professional lives. So how self-love practices can intersect with stress management, particularly in the context of work-related scenarios.
So what happens in the self-love piece when it comes into work, there's a couple places right here. One, I think about communication. So in the sense of we get that email, we already clocked out and someone's like, oh, well, you have to get this done. Well, if I don't have self-love and I don't have boundaries and I don't take care of myself, I'm just going to jump on that project and do it.
Mhm.
But when we're setting those boundaries and those communications, I'm able to say, hey, this is 5 o'clock and I'm clocked out. I will do this first thing in the morning, right? And we can word that differently. That's not how you should say it. But, it's just, it's setting those boundaries in that communication. Because if I start to overwork myself, what am I working for?
Right.
Right. We do the overtime, we work on the weekends, we get in the work early, which is amazing. And that's, work ethic that we're taught. But what are you doing the paycheck for? You bought the house, you bought the TV, you bought the car. Are you using it? Are you using those brand new shoes that you wanted, or are they just sitting in the closet? These are the things we're doing. So when we bring in that self-love piece, it creeps into that quote unquote work-life balance.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk about something else? Maybe something that you are passionate about, boundaries or anything?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about boundaries, because usually when people talk about boundaries, it was a struggle for me also in the beginning, because I'm like, okay, you are being selfish. Why set boundaries, right? What if somebody needs you? So yes, what is your take on that?
So when people think about somebody needs them, right? They want to be there for somebody. And how amazing is that? You want to support the people you love and you want to be there for them. You want to be their rock. So
Mhm.
there's a couple pieces to this. Are you the only person they have in their life? Right? They probably have other siblings, they probably have parents, they probably have other friends. The likelihood that you're the only person is a little bit less, right? So, and what are you saying to them if you think you're the only person that can solve their problems,
Right.
right? It's that. And then it's also going, if it is an emergency, what boundaries have you set? And so, what I mean that it's okay. So, for me, after 8 o'clock, my brain cannot work anymore. It's 2 plus 2, I have no idea what it is after 8 o'clock. It just doesn't work anymore. And so if somebody calls me after 8 that's close to me, they know that that must be an emergency. So
Mhm.
I have told them, we've had conversations, we've made our relationship to the fact that I'm useless after 8. So if you need me, sure, call me. But if it's not an emergency, know that it's for tomorrow. And I've had those conversations where someone has called me after that moment and I'll ask them, is this an emergency? And not in a rude way. When I'll get to that in a second, why it's not rude. It's not in a rude way. It's them going, oh my God, actually it is. Oh shoot, I just realized the time. Call me tomorrow. I just wanted to pick out an outfit with you. Having that boundaries. And when we have that boundary, we're able to grow that in that relationship. So then when I call them, oh, hey, Laura, I'm just calling to hang out. Hey, well, if this isn't busy, I'm doing dishes right now, or I'm just having my cup of coffee right now. So now they're able to do it.
Right.
So it's a different growth in your relationship. And how cool is that that you get to have these healthy boundaries where you get to tell somebody, I love you, but I have 5 minutes by myself and I want to just be by myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, you said it so beautifully. Yes. Instead of talking about boundaries, it should be like healthy boundaries. That's what we are talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, right. And can you also share some resources, books, or any recommendations that individuals can explore on the same subject?
Yeah, of course, of course. So the one book I recommend for people that are just getting started, and I read it at least 3 times, maybe four. So it's only like 100 pages, if that. It's called The Four Agreements. Have you heard of this one?
I have read it. Yeah.
Yes, right. It's a super easy book, but I don't, tell me if you agree. It's one that I feel you have to keep reading through the different stages. You
Right.
go through growth, right? And you read it again, you're going, okay, okay, I hear you now. And you read it again, you go, okay, 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 I hear you now. So I always recommend that one. And honestly, even looking up the author, he has a really cool story about how he got started and why he does what he does. And now his son has taken over and his son has now written books with him. So it's a pretty cool process to hear that stuff. So I say the Four Agreements, 100% hands down, read that one and continue to read that one. And then another one that I like to read if you're in the business mindset, and even if you're not, it's called The One Thing. And this book, it's from a realtor. Basically, he's a really big realtor in the States and took an over in any state within the States, you know the name Keller Williams. And so his book is about just doing one thing. As you know, as a mom, as a business owner, you know, we tend to want to do every little thing, but where does that get us? When we just focus on one task, we're think about that growth, right? So the more you focus on something, the more it grows. So it could be working out. Okay, well, this week I'm always working on this piece. I want to do that marathon. I want to do that triathlon, whatever that case may be. If I'm just, that's my main focus. Again, boundaries get set in, communication gets set in. There's so many things that happen. So, and then the business mindset, it's what's that one goal?
Right.
So speaking engagements, is it growing the podcast? Okay, well, that's my one thing. So every day I'm focusing on that one thing. I can add other things, obviously, but every day that's my main focus, my main focus.
Right. Yeah. I loved your, book recommendation and the advice that you shared. Yeah, I loved it. And also share more about your own services and how listeners and viewers can connect with you.
Yeah, of course. So with my business, I mainly focus on stress and burnout. So with that, it's coming to me as on a one-on-one basis saying, okay, this is the stress in my life. Sometimes I get it's my significant other in my life. Sometimes I get it's a friend that's in my life that I don't know how to handle. I've gotten ones that, hey, I'm not an addict, but I drink wine every night and that's my stress relief. I want to find healthier ways to handle my stress relief. So a lot of the times it's what I do with the one-on-one client work, it's identifying what your stress is, but again, bringing it back to you when it comes to accountability and bringing that awareness. So finding the ones that work for you. I could sit here and tell you, you know, for the next however minutes of all the things that worked for me, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So my job as what I do is to find things that work for you and then what works for you next month and then what works for you next month. Because I don't know if you've done this where, okay, this works for me. Meditation works or yoga works or this book works, journaling works. And then next month you're going, this does not work. I need something else.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it does happen, right? So learning how to find that next tool when that time comes to.
Right. Okay.
Speak at events too. So do a lot of speaking too.
Yeah, yeah. And how can they connect with you?
Yeah, of course. So I have a podcast as well. It's called Stress Less with me, Jess, where I interview other business owners about how they handle stress and their mindset on stress. And then I have my website, which has my full contact information, journeytoyourself.net. .net. There is a .com. It's not mine. I'm .net. A little different. And it has every contact on there. My email goes directly to me, all the social media platforms that I'm on. So all the different ways you can connect with me.
Okay, and I will put the links to that in the description box below this video so that anybody who wants to connect with you, they can connect. And I loved all your recommendations and insights, and I'm sure like every individual who will watch this video or listen to it on Spotify, it will help them in their own stress reduction journey. And do you still have time or?
Sure do. I have 10 more minutes. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So anything like what else like you want to know our viewers to know or listeners, because the podcast will be on Spotify also, and then I will link you on LinkedIn also. I think uh, I'm connected with you on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yes. So I think another one we could talk about is communication. I think
yeah,
that's a big. Want to do communication? Okay. So communication. So a big thing with communication, there's a couple pieces to communication. The first thing I tell people is to avoid the words always and never. So stick with me for
Mhm.
a second. Always and never. You never listen to me. You're always too busy for me. The chances that someone's always and never, slim to none, right? It might seem very consistent. It might seem like a lot, but they're not always and never. So when you say someone is always and never, when I go, you never listen to me, that person is going to become defensive. So
Right.
then, right? And then we start going, and then what? And we never talk about the topic. We go, oh, you remember what you were last year at Christmas? It didn't look on you right. You know what your mother-in-law said to you? Yep, she was right about that. And we start to pull all these things out. We start to name call and we start to say these horrific things. And we don't talk about the actual issue. We don't talk
Right.
about, hey, I need help on Tuesday nights. We don't talk about, I need help on the work project. What we do, we start to create a barrier. And so every time I see that person, like, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about the dishes. Well, you never talked about the dishes. You just said
Right.
you never listen, right? So, big piece with communication is avoiding the words always and never.
Mhm.
Because then, and then as we're humans, right, we talked about this, we're all, emotions, all that kind of fun stuff. They start to take over. Another piece to that is when I feel myself going back and forth and I'm yelling at the person, we're going back and forth with each other. I want you to ask yourself, are you in this to win or resolve? So
Wow.
winning,
Yeah. That's a
right?
very good question. Yes. Yeah.
And winning, we like to win. We like to win. But
Right.
winning is the pulling up the past. Winning is calling the names. Winning is I'm gonna let him know. That's
Right.
winning. But that doesn't resolve anything. It doesn't
Right.
let our relationship grow or
Yeah.
me grow. Right? So that's another piece. 'Cause again, we're human. And I think another piece with communication is assuming.
Yeah.
We right? It's I assume that this is what they meant during their text message.
Mhm.
When we assume, I don't know if you heard this, but when we assume, you make a but out of me and you, right?
Right.
And so where does that get us?
Yeah.
Get curious. Get curious. And when I mean get curious, ask questions. So if you feel somebody is attacking you, you feel somebody is, being offensive or, whatever the case may be, ask the questions. How do you want to be supported during this?
Mhm.
What part of this made you frustrated? What did you hear me say?
Mhm.
Right. And so that leads me with the last piece of the communication is so hear me out. It's not what you heard, it's what they said. It's not what you heard, it's what they said.
Right. Yeah.
Right. How many
This
times
is, yeah, this is so profound. Yeah.
right? How many times have they say something, oh, do the green dress and not the red dress. The red dress makes me fat. He thinks I'm ugly. My pigeon legs do that. That's what you heard. It's
Right.
not what you said, right? So asking yourself, okay, what was the actual words that came out of their mouth, right? I
Yeah.
think those really help. So avoid the words always and never. Ask if you're in this to win or resolve. Do not assume and ask yourself, it's not what they heard, what I heard, it's what they said. And the very last one is just get curious. Ask
Right.
the questions.
Right. Yeah. I loved that. I think I I could have named the podcast even, communication something. But yeah, I loved it.
Oh, they're good, good.
Yeah.
Because it's
Really.
relatable, right?
Yeah.
Even me that teaches this, I have to ask myself these questions. Okay, Jess, what was the word he actually said? What did he say? Because I want to let them, you still get a little defensive, right?
Right.
They get some nerves.
Yeah, yeah. I loved it. And so I think I will have to let you go now. But I think that was like, maybe if we can, do it some other time when you also have like plenty of time. I would
Yeah.
love to, hear more from you on different subjects. But yeah, I think only 5 minutes left, so I will not keep you waiting. And so I will put all the information in the description box. Viewers or listeners can connect with you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
doing this. Thank
Of
you.
course, Chris. You have a great one. Bye.
Bye.